Hello, I'm Eric Braggs. This is the third of my 3 videos. The first one is the really fast 15-minute one of all these ideas. The second one is about an hour and 10, I think it is, and that goes through all the plates really in a sensible way. Now we're going to focus just on a way to be, which is every human being's shortest runway, according to all human knowledge. Everything that humanity has figured out already, we know this because of the information age, it's the shortest runway anybody can use to get themselves ready to be within cooey of experiencing their best life. I'm going to explain how that works and what it is and why it is. It's really sensible, and one day there'll be a really good video with a really excellent presenter to explain it to you in a way that's better than this, but for now, this is what we need to do to get it going. So it's a 3-step process anyway, and it's absolutely transparent and it's obvious. The first step is understanding the past. We'll go through all 3 steps right now. The first one is understanding the past, and this is no surprise. In the modern world, if anybody wants to get well, we could go and consult a therapist. A therapist is like a wise friend, and with a therapist, if we have good rapport with them, we are able to relax and allow them to direct us into a meditation, whereby then they can help us sort out whatever issues we think we have and be able to process them and put them in a place where we are less reactive about those things. So you see, it's a meditation, but it's directed by a therapist. But in the end, the differences, the changes that happen inside the person. And that's the only way anybody can change, is by purposefully making those changes, recognizing that changes can be made and then implementing them. Now, in other paths, one could use prayer mode. This is what Christians would be using, is they get into a prayer mode, and it's the same kind of thing. It's where they quieten themselves down and they reflect on themselves and their relationship to the religious message, which is basically just love. We're going to be using love because we all know by this stage that the only way to heal the inner spirit, the soul, whatever word you want to use for it, your heart, is through love. That's why we have the word love. It expresses everything that's good for us. Okay. Hypnotism is the same. It's all getting into our deep selves and having focus on what's inside of us. Okay. So we're going to learn to do this now for ourselves in a really easy and straightforward way, so that it's all done in a weekend. As far as the first step, understanding the past, goes, this is something which you can achieve easily in a weekend. The second step is communication recovery, and that's because we know that all those childhood experiences that we've had affected the way we present ourselves in the world. When we look at this and accept that truth, we're able to decide, okay, well, what is the truth then? What is the way that works? And we can consult the world's top communicators and just take on their truths as our own. And that way, our CEO or our higher awareness, whatever you want to call that, your higher spirit, will be able to modulate your own behavior, your autopilot behavior, so that you tend or tilt towards a much better way of being. And when you see the results of that, then you're inspired to get even better. We just call this personal growth. But once communication, and what we understand communication to mean, is dealt with, then we can actually stand up straight and say, I'm ready, I feel ready. I can understand why somebody would want to love me, because I feel like I deserve love now. I know that I'm doing everything right, you see. So you end up having this inner self-belief, which is a very powerful feeling. You feel powerful, you feel a sense of relief and and liberation compared to how you used to be just weeks ago perhaps. And then you can get this blast of wow, this, and be overwhelmed, if you like, with how wonderful life is suddenly. And that's the know yourself moment. That's when you really, really understand that this is the path to be, and that actually your whole life has been to have that experience, to understand yourself, to know who you are and where you came from, and to take that on without any bad effects from your haphazard childhood. Because everybody experiences, like a sine wave, the ups and downs of life. And it's those down parts that create fear in us, in our hearts, and cause us to shrink away from what could be with our lives. Okay, let's begin. Oh yeah, and then the last step was just maintenance. We just know that if we just suddenly go back to our old patterns and don't do anything, then nothing will change. So maintenance is really simple. We just keep a journal or a diary, whatever you want to call it, and we keep notes for ourselves as to what we're thinking, what we're working on, and where we're going with our lives, what our ultimate dream is, and the steps we might want to have, what seem to be the right steps to get there. And that's always a work in progress the rest of your life. But you can live now joyfully every day because you know you're on track. You know that what you're doing is the next right best thing to do. So that if something happens and disturbs your energy field, or love field, because energy equals love equals energy, if something disturbs your love field, you can go, what the heck is this? Where did this come from? And you can isolate where it is and how it happened. And you can know that, well, it doesn't affect me actually. And so even though you feel this thing, because whether you heard that remark or comment or whatever, if you hadn't heard it, you wouldn't be affected. Now you've heard it, your body starts to do this weird thing, doesn't it? This fear program starts kicking in. But if we allow the fear to take us, it just becomes bigger. We end up reacting, and all our best opportunities disappear in front of our eyes. Plus our bad energy, our reaction has now affected other people in the area. It can all go really, really wrong. So as wise individuals, we'll know that reaction is the bad thing to indulge in. You may feel it, you may feel this vibrational shift, but if you don't put petrol on that friction, then it'll just disappear on its own really quickly. Especially if you just put your mind on things that really do exhilarate you, you'll find you have control of yourself. So nobody can really change your energy, even if small shifts can happen. You just notice them, that's all. And then you just let it all flow away because you know it's not really true. That's just your animal origin kicking back in saying, ooh, I should fight this or flee from it, something like that. Yeah? And that's why you feel calm and powerful and just self-confident. Yes. Okay. So those are the 3 steps. Understanding the past, communication recovery, which is just building charisma, okay? Think of it all in a positive way. Understanding the past is self-therapy. It's free. Available when you're driving down the road. You'll see by this method. You can do it as you exist because you take on your own true identity, one of love. Because we all know every single person in a room that we're in is a person who wants to love and be loved. This is our common, unified, beautiful selves. And we're all different. Some are more intellectual, some are more caring. There's the spectrum. Our brains are all entirely different, right? We have musical people, we have mathematical people, we have communicative people. Everybody has something to work with, and we just work with what we really feel we're gifted in or that we feel excited about. That way we're going to learn and become good at it anyway. Okay, we're going to start now. Now, in the last video I did, the one that does all of the 12 images in a row, I feel like I did a reasonable job on explaining the first two, but I'm going to go over them again because this is a way to be now. It says, step 1, understanding the past. I'm going to have these diagrams on the side again as I'm talking so that you can peruse a little bit while I'm chatting, and it also gives me a way to point to certain things, which I think is handy. Other than that, I'm going to kind of read the whole damn thing this time because there are quite a few words on the last two images, but note, you don't have to learn anything, you don't have to memorize anything, because it's all just truth. I expect if you look at the diagrams each day for the next week, the foundational concepts of what you're doing here will end up soaking in, and that will help, okay? Let's see. Now we're really starting. Can I just say as well, because I thought that, and I didn't say it in the last video, you see, love equals energy is so powerful that big truths just latch onto it. They just fall into place on it. And you're going to find this as well. You're going to have some misgivings and you might think, oh, what about this? What about that? But you'll see, when you get to know this system, it accepts everything you want love to represent to you. It just accepts everything that's good for a human being. And anything that you don't like, even if you hear me say a sentence and you think, oh, that's weird or something, it'll be an interpretive error, or perhaps I just said the wrong word or a triggering word, one of these sorts of things, because in the end, what I'm communicating here is pure love, which should match with what you're carrying inside you. It should match with all your desires, all your sense of fun, all your sense of curiosity, enjoyment, everything is in here. And if it's not pure love, then we change it until it is pure love, okay? So that every single person on earth can use it as a runway, because you see, in forming this, it is of course a result of my own experience of life, and my experience of life, while it's similar in a sense to other people's experience of life, it's by no means the same. So there might be things that need to be added to this from other people's experiences. Other people on the bell curve might decide, look, we need this sort of thing added in which case obviously that's going to happen. Or if anything here is written in a way which is confusing or misleading, then it would be changed. So ultimately, a way to be is intended to be a permanent pathway that we all contribute to find our way to enlightenment. And I use the word enlightenment because I can't say I did this exactly, because I took the 5 or 10 year route to doing this. But this, in a nutshell, and after many refinements, is what I've experienced. And I had that, and still continue to have, enlightenment experiences where every now and again I just have this sense of wow. And it's that sense that this is what life's about. Having self-awareness is just so precious and special that every now and again you're going to have that feeling and wish everybody was doing the same thing, having the same kinds of experiences sometimes. And the rest of the time, of course, I'm just a regular person like anybody else who could walk around here, except that hopefully I'm the most stable, let's say. I would pride myself on trying to be the most stable, the most sensible, a good communicator, but also the most fun and trustable person, you know? Because I believe I'm working with what works, the truth. So what really happens though is in our early lives, we don't know the truth yet. We're just filling in the program, the things in our consciousness that need to be filled in for the first time. How to speak, how to be, how to stand, what works in this environment that I'm in. But we also keep, again with the sine wave, there's lots of wonderful things that happen, but there's also stuff that's unexpected, things we don't like, and that can leave us feeling victimized or just unhappy, and we want to avoid those situations. And so we change our personality to try and make sure we don't get hurt anymore. Where was I going with that thought? We don't have an option, you see. And our original spirit, or our autopilot, fills in those original things. This is how I'm going to talk, this is how I'm going to be, this is the expression I carry on my face. Generally it just comes from inside. But we end up, our original spirit or autopilot writes this stuff for the first time. That's why I call it the original spirit. Sometimes you can think of it sensibly as your inner child, right? This is what develops when we are children. But I prefer now, we don't want to overwrite our child selves, because it isn't really our child selves. When we were children, we had enthusiasm, curiosity, expression, motivation. We were bursting with good energy. And that's who we really are. That is your heart. So it's your autopilot, yes. And it's your inner child that we're going to heal, yes. But it's who you're going to be at the end of it all as well. This is your original spirit. You want to be able to get that and be in flow for expression, for creativity, for communication. When we're in flow, then we're usually bringing out things that come from other places. We can find music, we can create. If we're only using our intellect to create, we find that's a difficult thing to do. Although it's a good thing to do to start each morning if you're creative. Just intellectually get yourself into the zone. But then in the end, your autopilot, your mode becomes invisible to you, and that's when things just appear, and then you can later on recognize where you've found some gold. So that's why I keep on kind of correcting myself when I'm talking about the inner child or the autopilot. Keep in mind that really we're not denigrating that. It's who we are. It's our original spirit, I think, is the best way to talk about that. So when we get to the CEO part of it, the higher awareness part, I tend to think of that as the spirit guide now. And the resource for the spirit guide is everything that we have in shared human memory, which is basically anything that's written down in words. Okay? So even this, the words that make up a way to be, will become then shared human memory. It's available, it's in the memory bank for all humanity, all into the future, right? This is the wonder of language. It may not be discovered for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, possibly. I think hopefully in 1 year. But at least it's there. It can be found, right? Okay. So, I think I'm ready to start. Step 1, understanding the past, self-therapy. For free. Permanent. You can do it while you're driving to work, you can do it while you're washing the dishes, because you carry the Kfag model in your heart, which is kindness, forgiveness, acceptance, and gratitude. It's just an easy way to work with the word love, so that we can break it into tools or weapons of love, if you like, and we can just use those to deal with anything that happens and understand anything that happens. Right. Now then, we'll start. The wide views. These diagrams, although they're really cute, I made the diagrams, but I worked a long time to make these diagrams and refine them, and so that's why they look so simple and lovely. The wide views. These diagrams are not, though, simplifications, although they are, but they reveal the heart of every problem faced by modern Western society. The free world, kind of. Alright? So what I'm saying there is every psychologist, therapist, new age person, guru, friend, priest, anybody would be able to, who's in the field, deep in the field, will look at this diagram and think, that's a pretty nice tight summary of everything that's troubling everybody. So now let's look at it. This is one healthy person who's living somewhere in here. We don't want to get right to the end here because that means we're struggling to try and be happy, if you like. And if we're struggling to be happy, it's because we know we don't feel happy enough. Part of this whole thing is to not be a perfectionist, not to be a fundamentalist. We want to be able to relax. And so being somewhere in the middle here is absolutely fine. Now, like I mentioned before, some people have mathematical minds, some have musical minds, some people have consciousness-built minds, and they perhaps, as their job, might want to be here as yogis or priests and things like that. And so they, in order to do that, then you have to really slow down and be in your priest mode or your yogi mode. Yeah? But for most of us, we're going to be somewhere in here, very ordinary, everyday, happy people as we want. These people are best described as people who are living in a world of love. We can call it natural wellness, in the same way as every blade of grass or clover you see is working at nearly 100%. As long as we're in adequate conditions, we're all capable of achieving this if we don't allow the fear program to mess our lives up. Again, I call it enlightened because most people will have that enlightenment experience of liberation and relief. And that's because when you consider another sine wave, let's say, or bell curve, some people are lucky enough that they emerge from, let's say, the year 20 years old. They're so fantastic. Their communication is just brilliant. The way that they say things, we love it. Everybody agrees. They don't react. They're always friendly. They're always non-judgmental. They're just wonderful, wonderful people. And people just gravitate towards them. This is called charisma. People want to help these people. People want to be allowed within the love field of these people. But that's just the top 5 or 10%, right? The absolute highest, luckiest people. So the rest of us are anywhere else on the spectrum, which is just not anywhere near as good generally as being right near the top. So when we do this, the people who go a long way, who make this quick, because it all happens quite fast. I can't tell you how fast, it'll be different for everybody, but this is the shortest runway, so you may find you have an enlightenment experience quite soon. I'd hope so, because when you have that, that sort of really empowers you and makes you think, oh my, this really works. What else can I do? Show me something else I can improve on so that, I can have the absolute best life that's possible for me. At the same time as just enjoying each day while you're working towards that best life, yeah? Okay. So, we're still here. All the doors are open for a person like this. They're welcome anywhere. They walk into a room and everyone's happy they turned up. And it's not just how they look. Typically, they've got the best of everything going for them, so quite often they're actually good looking as well. They've just struck gold on every level. But it's not necessary. People who are not necessarily so good looking can also get to this really high power of strength and charisma as well. It's the case of just optimizing with what you've got to work with. Okay? Okay, so this is where opportunities exist, and behind these doors is another glen of beautiful space, and then there might be another series of doors, and your life is just choosing whatever you want to do, whatever is in your heart, whatever progress it is that you want to achieve in your life and the happiness you want to achieve is through one of these doors, and they're all open to you. That's what it's like when you live this way. You feel empowered, you feel like everything is available for you. And then it's just a case for you to decide, well, that's what I want, that's what I'm heading for. All right? And you write that in your journal as well. Okay, the steps. The steps that, so you can intellectually plan it, but know that it may not go according to your plan, but at least you get yourself on that path, and then life happens in the same way as creativity just ends up flowing out from you. Your life will flow out from you, and it will end up not being exactly what you thought of, it'll probably be better. Okay. So there's the doors all open, happy camper. We're living in love. We are love. And so we feel regularly inspiration, curiosity, motivation, connection, enjoyment, enthusiasm, drive. Those are the characteristics of the human heart. We all have that in abundance. But after we were about 4 years old, it started fading within us because we started experiencing pain, hurt, discomfort, and we started fading away. And all of these wonderful, strong characteristics of the human soul, spirit, heart, whatever you want to call it, fade away. And what happens is we end up going slowly down the spectrum here until we become disheartened. Our heart becomes disheartened. It's because of the fear program, and we start having experiences like fight, flight, freeze, fawn, anger, suspicion, skepticism, cynicism, reclusiveness. We're not happy campers anymore. We close the doors ourselves around us because we want to hide away basically and just find comfort scrolling or doing something which is just within us. We're just looking for any bit of joy we can, comfort. We call it depression in the world. Living in a world of fear is what it's about when we're here. And there's no way out from here except to come back out this way. And this, a way to be, is everybody's runway to get here without any extra things. So you don't have to go for 3 years to an ashram in India, although that might be something you'd like to do. You don't have to go 3 years of Bible study with a priest or a seminary, which is something though you might like to do. And you don't have to go for 3 years of therapy with the world's best therapist, although it's something you might like to do. You can do it in a week using this information and then do whatever you like. Alright, so we've explained this diagram. We'll cover this one once more. Nobody gets a choice. We get born, and then it's like being a mouse in a maze, where things just happen. You'll notice at 4 years old, it's just the beautiful age for humans, isn't it? Because at 4, the ebullience, the spirit, the personality, that everybody is kind of just gorgeous when they're 4 years old. But then after that, it seems, that's how, when visually it seems, spiritually, in the heart, that's when things start to close up a bit. We start to become more nervous, anxious, depressed, disheartened, and it changes us into who we become from that point on. We've got no choice about that. We can't have higher awareness as a little kid, even up to the age of 20. Now, at the age of 20, I'm thinking it's probably possible. We'll find out, because in the end, this a way to be will become part of education, right? And so the next 20 years, we'll find out the perfect way to teach kids so that we'll drop the right information at the right time for each individual child so that they just bloom absolutely naturally and perfectly and become it's going to lead to people who astound us with their vitality and their capability and their love, their generosity, their everything. But let's say somebody gets that to this point at 20. That's just that in the future. That's the plan, okay? And then the rest of a person's life is just success after success. That's what it feels like. Because if there is a disappointment, if there's something that stops you from your next item of progress, you really don't blame anybody or anything, even yourself. You just think, okay, I'm going to go around or I'm going to go over. With the spirit of a child who's playing in a game, you don't let anything stop you. But you're not having to resort to anything brutish or anything to get through. You're just calmly going about each day and you're just going to succeed no matter what in the direction that you want to go. So that's why this is shown as a series of successes. It's just easy and fun because you're also remembering to purposely do things where you enjoy every day. So this is a very famous moment in everybody's life, know thyself. In fact, people, when they have their know thyself moment, typically understand that when other people say it's the whole purpose of being alive is to have that moment. And a lot of people in the past have never got to experience that. But enough people have that we know it's true. Okay, so there's your liberation and relief. A way to be, so it's all about thriving. Like all the blades of grass that I can see from here, or a clover, they're all working at 100% because love equals energy. The whole universe only allows love to exist. So we know if we're alive, we are in an environment where it's possible for us to thrive in a beautiful big way. But then humanity seems to be the difference, thing, right? Because if we get a field of humans, we can judge that, yeah, they're not so happy, they're not really working at 100%, or they're not joyful. We've lost our human spirit. The heart has been diminished in our populations as individuals and as societies. All right, well, that took a while, but we've done a lot. The other metaphor I usually mention about this one, rat in a maze, when you get to the know thyself point, it's like you find the door out of the maze and you're in a beautiful place. The other good metaphor about it is you're keeping your head above water. You're trying to, at least. Trying to. Everything is a matter of survival. How do I get over this? How can, I just want to go home, basically. So it's just reactive, and we don't have a choice but to try and survive. When we have our know thyself moment, it's as if you're temporarily taken out of the water, and it's a massive relief, and you feel great. Now you are then put back into the water, but now you realize, oh, I can swim, and you know how to swim, and you're a good swimmer, so you just start swimming well. And if you end up swimming badly, I better start swimming well again, and then it's all enjoyable. So that's another metaphor that kind of works. All right, so that's that one done. We've done one of the four. Okay, the second one are the images. Now this is really important because we know love equals energy is right, and a way to be is right, because nobody gets left behind. It wouldn't be the right answer if there were people who were just wrong. If there was a big proportion of our population that was just wrong, that would be weird. We all know what's right. That's why we all wonder why the wars are still happening, why there is still bullying in schools. It just doesn't make sense, does it? But it all comes down to the fear program. Okay, so this diagram I call the Jesus diagram, and this one I call the Buddhist diagram. And now I'll explain why. Love equals energy. Jesus told us we were love, basically. In terms of, like, I was raised Christian. It didn't take on me, but I was raised that way, so I'm familiar with the general parlance. But I'm not a committed Christian or anything, so I'm just remembering now. But I do remember as a school kid that, you could switch the word God for love anytime, the same thing. So that was how I dealt with it. The contradictions about, people coming back from the dead and walking on water. It's like, all right. But that's a gate that stops a person from being able to trust what a priest or anybody says. Because I don't believe what the first thing you said, so how can I'm not going to give myself to trusting what you say about other things. One way or another, for a lot of people at least, religion isn't currently working. But Jesus' idea about love, being kind, treat others the way you would have them treat you, turn the other cheek, this forgiveness type of thing, and possibly there are more aspects of love in the Bible that Jesus spoke about, but those were right. So we can assume that there was a person called Jesus walking through Jerusalem one day who realized that that love really does work, not just in a nice squishy way, but in a mechanically sound way, that everything actually falls into place once you embody love, once you become like God, right? Now, in the modern world, this is the new interpretation of it, because we've named a lot of things and noticed a lot of patterns. So yeah, we start as love, in accordance with love equals energy too. Then we're born, but what kicks in then is the fear program. And fear just distorts our love. It renders it all a bit useless because it does. But the fear program is fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. But by adding just a single word, formulate, nothing interrupts the love beam. It just shines full beam all the way through. So by teaching kids to use the word formulate, we give ourselves an option where we don't react. Now that's hard to do sometimes when you're out of practice, but with this knowledge, you know that, and you can see this all the time in reality TV, when people react, their best options suddenly disappear. Every single time. And a good Buddhist would tell that person, just relax. That's the key word from Buddhism. Relax and release, just let it go. Because it's not actually true when you think about it. As you process these ideas better, you'll realize that what you're experiencing are just things. They're neither good nor bad, they just are. And it's up to you as to how your narrative, your internal self, interprets and deals with those things. Nearly everything is not even worth you considering. It's not to say you didn't feel something by a comment somebody might have said, but you know not to interact with that feeling, because if you do, doors are going to start closing around you, you know, or your general joy is going to suffer, and there's just no reason for it because we're not going to attach any negative narratives to it. If somebody says something and they hurt me purposefully, let's say, I'm not going to interpret that as something I should fight back against or anything. I'm simply going to feel sorry for that person because they're still living in that fear paradigm, you see. So it's not something I don't want to hurt them more, you know. In the end, it all makes sense, and you get to see it in a way where you can handle everything that happens, okay? All right, so we're going to add the word formulate to keep full beam love going on. And this is teachable. This could be taught to your kids today. It could be taught in all schools today, except that the governments can't change education at the moment because we would need some experts, world experts, to agree and say this is really important. So that's what I'm doing this. But it's really, this is why everything changes immediately. And as we are human, we will sometimes react. Normally it happens, you'll notice, if you have a stress level, something frustrating is going on. It could be on some project you're doing that's just for fun, but you might get really frustrated because it's just not working. And then another thing might happen, and that might be more of a stress situation for you as well. And then another thing could happen and suddenly you lose your shit. And it's like, oh, oops. But because you're not used to losing yourself, you notice it quite fast. And then you can immediately retract and say, oops, I'm sorry, I reacted and that's my fault. And then if you need to give information, you can say, I'll get back to you once I've processed this properly. Because ultimately, ideally, you don't want to make any real decisions apart from that one when your energy field is messed up, when your love field is messed up. Because your decisions when you behave out of fear is always going to close some doors. It's never going to be in your favor. It's mechanically sound, that idea. So you just got to start using it, and then you realize how it works and how you can justify it, yeah, in a wonderful way, an easy way. All right, so we've done the Jesus diagram. And I've written here as well, note, the word love first appears in the Bible. The teachings of Jesus are foundational, but are presently obscured by the many mystical stories. This will soon be addressed by Christian organizations around the world, beginning a new era of global unity. So because Jesus was all about love, and because this information is only about love, religion will realize that it's the right time. Because this information is so right now, because this couldn't have happened before now, it took the information age and it took us all being connected to be able to lock this in. They will agree with this. It is Jesus' formula in a sense. Love equals energy is the connection of what Jesus was saying with everything in the world, right? and outside of the world, in the universe, since time began now. So they will end up changing their iconography. Instead of having a cross and walking in with a cross wherever they go, because that represents and reminds us of the mystical aspects that we have a problem with. We can't just do that. But it'll be a heart, probably with a cross in the middle as a historical reference, but it'll be a big heart because it'll just be pure love. And then, well, we'll get onto it. Well, we've said it in the other one. But then churches will end up just being open all day Sunday. There'll be free tea and cakes. There'll be masses for people who want masses, but the businesses will supply free tea and cakes. People will be able to go there. Singles meet other singles, couples meet other couples. Scientists and people, regular people, we're all one then, you see. We're all priests, scientists and artists. Self-expression will come through. So we won't all be the same either. Some people are scared of that. Okay. All right, we'll go to the second diagram. Our best lesson from the East explains that our upset is never caused by events outside of us, but by things that trigger our many historic traumas. This is that thing where anything that happens, it connects to some story we have about ourselves, and so we can find ourselves wanting to react. But we don't mess with reactions. We don't mess with anything that's connected with fear to do with the past, because we'll have done the Kfag model, so we'll be carrying ourselves with a real knowledge that we've processed our past, that we carry zero victimology. That's the whole point of step one, is to get to that point where we can say, you know what, I really think I'm carrying zero victimology right now. This is brilliant. Because we know that that's step one, so we want to achieve it. So with Buddhism, it's that thing where no matter what happens, you can attach a good story or a bad story to it. If you're following a slow driver, you can get all frustrated and angry and somehow cause an accident or just cause yourself misery. But you can say, well, this is what's true right now. I'm behind a slow driver and I can't pass them. So why don't I just imagine it's a Sunday drive and actually enjoy it? If you can't change something, you may as well find a way to entertain yourself, have a nice time. Okay, so it's just that's a simple example, obviously, but anything can be processed in a way where you can make sense of it and not have to react. Okay? Things trigger our many historic traumas. Without this truth, we will typically react and lose our otherwise best options. What's left after a big reaction is the option to go home and lock yourself in your room again. You see, it's just disheartenment. You've let the world get to you, and there's really no reason to allow it, even though you sometimes will feel some of that. But if you don't engage with it, it will just fall away. You just distract yourself into beautiful, wonderful things that you enjoy. So, you can see this happen every time in reality TV. If you're watching Married at First Sight or Love Island, all the time you can find yourself trying to tell the person, relax, just relax. Don't mess this up. It's always the case. Now, you can watch any video that features Michael Singer, and relax and release is his only message. Now, Michael's been studying Buddhism for many, many, many years. He's a European guy, so he speaks to us in ways that we understand. And so it's really easy to find out that this message is something that millions of people ascribe to, that this works for millions already. Same with the love message of Jesus. Millions of people will not leave that love message because it worked for them, they've gotten it, and they don't mind. Somehow they've managed to deal with the mystical aspects or absorb them. See this happen every time in reality TV. Relax and release, don't react, is the best advice in every single case. It's proven before your eyes. If you're wondering, go and watch those reality shows and just see how people are. Search YouTube Michael Singer. In Married at First Sight lately, I've been noticing a lot. There are sometimes people who are put together, and on the wedding day, the first time they've met each other, they are so happy. They're getting the connection physically, emotionally. They're just having the best day of their lives, and they can't believe it. And yet, within a few days after both of them have talked a bit, you can see how their past is coming back to haunt them and ruin this wonderful situation. And then both start reacting, and next thing you know, it's all gone. And none of that had to happen. From that first meeting where everything was beautiful, where you just felt like you identified with this person, you could dream every dream with this person, that actually is kind of real. If you've got a physical, emotional connection to a person, there's nothing that can ruin that except for your past. And when that comes in, when you fail to be aware in any particular time, you can easily start saying stuff or reacting to things, and it starts eroding that faith that this is my person, you know? Anyway, it's an interesting place. Reality TV is a fun place to learn things because, of course, it's built to be entertaining. It's a little bit extreme because it's all pressure cooker type situations, but that's where we get to see real life play out as well. Okay, so the Buddhist diagram is this one with the light bulb, and you can see it's all full light in this particular image. This is the ego, but nobody can have this. This is theoretically possible. No, it's not theoretically possible. It's theoretical only because we don't have a choice. When we're born, we're in the maze and we can't get our minds above it. We're just in that portion where we're still writing our original programs. Our original spirit is being formed. Now then, so we're here, and at 10 years old, that beautiful 4-year-old has now disappeared. We're now much quieter, less enthusiastic, less motivated, less sure of ourselves, less everything, that's because our heart has become disheartened. Depression has begun. We get sensitive about some things, and the light is just less. By 20, for many people, we've become even more sensitive, and the light has become even less again. Now people are starting to stay home a lot and be cynical and skeptical or angry, and it's just, and people still struggling to find themselves and be happy. They're cast adrift in a sense. It's not a nice place to be. So this whole system, our way to be, is the method you will use to clean your bulb. And when your bulb is clean, all the light shines through again, just like it would if you were pure love. That Christian idea of just becoming love, becoming God, if you like, right? That's probably triggering for a lot of people, and it's also not clear. But you become love, you know what that is. And it's not to say we fix any of the past, when we don't really want to either when you think about it, because your past carries with it all of the good stuff as well, all of the things that make you who you are. So if you're interested in mechanics, that's from the past, and if that's your interest, then that's your interest. You want to go in a mechanical direction. If you're musical, if you're whatever it is, you know. So we don't want to lose our past. We just don't want to be reactive anymore, and that's what a way to be will do, in step 1 especially. So it says, so it's a healed self via the Kfag model, which is kindness, forgiveness, acceptance, and gratitude. Love broken up into 4 pieces so that our mind can use those as tools much better. So we can now all use the Kfag model as the most direct, natural, it's all natural, effective self-therapy. It allows us all to achieve our optimal mindset for personal joy, social and business success. Everything you want in your life, whatever it is you want. If you want to be a multimillionaire, you'll want to do this stuff. If you want to be the best sportsman, you'll want to do this stuff. So far in the world, this is the part that's kind of unteachable. You can be a good salesperson, but foundationally, there's still nothing that can really fix your foundation so that you really become that glowing person who can sell anything. When you heal your heart, when you lose that disheartened aspect of yourself, then you just become ebullient, and if you're a calm person, then you're just almost on fire. Not literally. Okay. So it's business as well, social, every aspect of your life, okay? And it's free, and you don't have to wait. You could start the installation of the Kfag model, which you're going to talk about right now. You could do it tonight, start it tonight. But you just don't want to rush it. Remember, the whole point of this is to find relaxation. So you don't want to feel like you're, I've got to do this, because start relaxing yourself. Know that wonderful things are coming. Okay, so now we've got the Kfag model. I've put these diagrams here to remind us of what we're doing. Now I'm pretty much going to read this and just talk for an hour probably about this. I used to call it an identity reset because that's kind of what it feels like as well. It's like, so you've got your original spirit, your autopilot. Let's look at the diagram now. I labeled this CEO, mostly because there's very few letters in that term, and it indicates that's the boss. We're now getting higher awareness, so it's up here. This is called autopilot because that's what we typically call it, and everybody kind of knows what that is. This is, when I finish making this video, I'll be able to think, now, did I do that well? This is not a good example. If I was at a party and talking to people, afterwards, I can say, now, how did I go there? What's my self-assessment there? And the reason my CEO or higher spirit can assess my autopilot or original spirit is because the CEO has done some research and found out what works. Because part of a way to be is that recognition that our own communication styles leave a lot to be desired by and large. Unless people tell you you're a great communicator and are just coming towards you all the time, then you figure, okay, there's something I must be doing wrong, right? There must be. So then it's like, okay, why is my conversation, how is it lacking? Or what am I saying or doing that's turning people off? So your CEO gathers that information, which we do in the next step, which is communication recovery, and then it is able to tilt your autopilot in the way which is going to be more workable, it gets results, yeah? So that's why I call this the spirit guide of the original spirit. Now, this represents all our subconscious, but we don't know what's in there. We have trouble figuring out what's going on in our minds. So instead of all that stuff, we're just going to put love in here, those 4 aspects of love: kindness, forgiveness, acceptance, and gratitude. And what we're going to end up doing is individually, the kindness bar, we're going to meditate, go into prayer mode, whatever you want to call it, hypnosis, self-hypnosis, whatever it is. You're going to find a place where you can really go inside and focus on yourself and think about kindness in all ways, how it's turned up in your life, people who have exhibited kindness and your response to that, times when people were unkind, your response to that. The charismatic people you know, are they kind? They sure are. You can understand why this works, and so you can say, right. And it's not that you've ever been unkind. Nobody, you'll see on these reality shows, the people who are causing mayhem and things, they don't think they're trying to, they don't believe that they're causing mayhem. They really do think that they're just justified in behaving this way, and that behaving for good. They may be defending people and shouting about it. But it's important to know they don't know that they're being damaging. That's why we have to do this communication recovery, you see, to check ourselves. But anyway, we'll get to that, but we're going to, in the end, you're going to install each of these blocks in a way which has real meaning, and you're going to commit to it, and these are going to have big effects for you, as you're going to see. But we'll start from the beginning again now. It's like a ritual. You want to think of it as a ritual. It's a really important thing that you're doing for yourself. So really take it seriously. And it's not enough just to intellectualize it. If you're going to just intellectualize it, then at least get to the point where if you do that and you still carry victimology inside you, let's say, then you haven't done it. If you just intellectualize it because for some reason you can't get yourself to actually do this, at least get yourself to the point where you can say, I will no longer react to anything from my past. I won't have any bad reactions. Now, if you can do that and manage to do it pretty well, then you are living in accordance with kindness, forgiveness, acceptance, and gratitude, okay? We can say that that's okay. And your behavior should reflect that, and you'll be fine. But the real point here is to really do it and go deep. You see, the trouble with today's world is we're all up in our heads too much. We're all going too fast and we're up in our heads. We need to slow down and face ourselves, really, is what's going on when you're having meditation. You have to be able to sit with yourself and in the end get to the point where you can understand that you can love yourself, that you can accept yourself. You know you've got everything under control because you've done a way to be. There's nothing that you can do better except possibly simplify your life and fix the things that need fixing. But apart from those things, which are just a work in progress, but you can love yourself so you can sit with yourself comfortably and actually enjoy that time down there eventually. Something like that. When I meditate, I'm happy down there. I don't meditate regularly though. I don't feel the need to. But if I'm in a doctor's waiting room, let's say, and it's getting really boring, then I'll just close my eyes and wait. And then it seems like minutes later, my name gets called. But it's kind of, for me anyway, it's easy to meditate 20, 25 minutes and then I start kind of wanting to wake up again. Anyway, so that's kind of something like the experience of this living. The idea though is that you want to be able to have a ritual, a really nice experience, a really special experience, because you're only going to do this once ideally, and it's going to be the most important thing you ever do because it's going to let you understand that the world is an amazing, amazing place. So, I'll get back to it now. Plan for your reset ritual to be special and beautiful. Take a weekend to enjoy having this experience. Do not just intellectualize it. Each block requires a half-hour minimum of focused, calm thought. I say that because it always takes 10 minutes, doesn't it, to get into a mode. If you've got housework to do, you don't want to do it, but once you start, now you're good. You're just doing it and you're thinking things while you're doing it. It all becomes okay. It's always that transition mode when you're kind of forcing your natural self to go in a certain direction. But once you're there, it's easy and comforting and relaxing and you can just do it. So take at least a half an hour so that for the first 10 minutes you're just getting into that sense of kindness and all that sort of thing, right? Into focus. The following 10 minutes will be building. You'll end up falling in love. You'll have a whole sense of love. If you do this for 20 minutes focusing on kindness, you'll be in love with the world and yourself and everything. And another 10 minutes after that, once you realize that it's a superpower and that once you commit to this, you know you've got it. At some point you're going to go, I'm ready. And then you just imagine this big gold block of kindness and you pop it inside yourself and you know it's there and it's there for life and you never have to question why it's there. It's just who you are. This is your identity now, right? We're building your values. I remember they talked about this sort of thing in school, and it always confused me because it just didn't make sense the way they talked about it. But ultimately, that's what we're doing. It's identity, and we're putting our values inside here. And of course, everybody's values at base are the same. It's love. Okay, so that's why we need to do it for, I reckon, a half an hour. So my process hasn't been this. I've just experienced it all. It's taken me 10 years or so. But this is what I did. If I was guiding somebody to do it really fast, what I've been through, this would be it. Okay? It may not turn out to be the best way. Maybe somebody will add something to it and people will all agree that, oh yeah, this superpower is that even, you know? So whatever it turns out to be is what a way to be will reflect the best way to get up real fast. Okay. Each 1.5 an hour. Use a favourite self-reflective, quiet, inspirational place or create one specially. Now, sometimes it's easier for me. I tend to go on walks, and that's my meditation. But it wouldn't do any good to go for a walk through the middle of town. It's too distracting. You're not going to be able to focus on yourself there. So it has to be a kind of boring walk, something where you can start being reflective. You could do it in a church. Go to your local church and just sit down and think. The energy of all the love that typically is in a room like that you might find that can work for you, you know? It's all history, so we can accept all that stuff. You know, we know the history then, and we can say, oh, okay, well, I've never agreed with this in the past. But on the other hand, I can see now how it actually does represent something amazing. Note that all blocks go both ways. This is a gift. E.g., be kind to yourself as well as others. Yeah, so we're going to do that soon. But each of these going both ways is like a relief. You know, for sure you have to forgive everybody, but you forgive yourself as well. And it's like, whoa. So all those times I behaved like an idiot, I'm just going to let it go. And I'm allowed to, because I'm also going to let go all those people that behaved like idiots around me, because everybody was struggling, everybody was trying to do their best, but everybody was reacting as they had to because they had no choice. Okay? So once we're above this, once we remove ourselves from the emotional memory of all that, we can see it for what it is and say, oh, okay, I really shouldn't bother about any of that stuff. Acceptance as well. You accept yourself, but you also accept others, but you accept yourself, more importantly. You know? You're okay. And gratitude, you have gratitude for others, but you have gratitude for yourself, and that's your path to healing. It's going to make you want to stand up straight and dress well and present well. This is one life, you know, and you want to work at the optimum. And love, when you're working with love, you'll see you are in a world of love. You'll find support. You'll find your way through because other people help people who are doing good things, who represent good things as well. Okay, so side note, installing the Kfag model is an experience you will treasure for life. You may expect to cry a few times. If you're sensitive in your memories when you're installing kindness, forgiveness, all of these things, that's when it's useful to picture yourself as your inner child, because you can give that inner child a big hug and you may cry a few times, but this is such a healing experience that even then it's beautiful. Another side note is after restoring your base identity, the Kfag model remains, allowing you to calmly process any new or hidden issues. All right, so it goes on forever. You're driving down the road and you think a bad thought, you process it and put it back in its room, gently close the door, you've already done it. It's not very scary because you've already done it before, it just got out of the filing room. But you just have these weapons of love inside you so you can feel safe to just, that again, boring, close the door, nice and calm, because there's no fear involved. We're not scared of nothing anymore, right? Okay, kindness. We've kind of done this. We'll read it through now. Think deeply about your experiences of kindness. So this is that first 10 minutes. And then when you're ready, as I say, after 20 minutes of this, your heart's going to be bursting with love, probably. I think that's what happens. And when you're ready, you're going to commit to being kind and patient with yourself and others, which basically means do no harm. That's just a life rule. Don't hurt anybody. Elimination of bullying. Be kind to the environment. That's important as well. Not just us, but our world. Let's look after it. When you feel deep, calm love, accept this gold block by permanently laying it inside your consciousness, where we do that thing, and we can use religious words again now quite comfortably. You kind of bless yourself with a quarter of full-on love. And when you've done that, you can think to yourself that you are now free from worrying about what other people think. And that's a lot of what bothers a lot of people, is that they're always thinking, how does this look? What does everybody else think? That's part of that struggle of being in that mouse maze. Just reacting and being overly in the head, thinking too much, not relaxing, being in a way too aware, too sensitive. Once you've installed kindness, and you know that from that day you're always going to be kind, even if you feel like you've been kind your whole life, you can stand in that. You don't have to worry anymore what anybody thinks, because you've done nothing to offend anybody. And if you have, well, they'll tell you, and then you can justify what it is that your point of view was, and you can sort it through, and everybody's energy will come out fine. Or you can decide, oh, okay, I can see, yeah, that behavior of mine is a bit damaging to some people, and so maybe I will try not to do that again, even though I'm not going to let it stop me from being who I am. So with the kindness block installed, you see, you can welcome back self-compassion, because you're going to be kind to yourself as well. And be patient with yourself. You're not going to expect everything to happen all at once. You're going to be happy with each day. You're going to work towards a better future with you and your community, your people. And you're going to have self-compassion, which is basically basically kindness and patience, yeah? That's wonderful. That's a nice relief as well, as a start. Now then, so that might be, for instance, done on a Saturday morning. And then you go home and you have your lunch and you keep on thinking about these things generally, what you're doing. And then perhaps in the afternoon, when you've got your energy again, you may decide, oh, I'm going to install the forgiveness block now. So you go and take your seat in the garden or go for your walk. Okay, and then it says, forgive yourself and others for everything, as we've all just been doing our best to cope with our struggles. Become okay with the confusion you suffered, as it led to who you are today. And that's surprisingly easy to do. When you realize that you're hitting this know thyself moment, it becomes really kind of easy to just put all this in a group and say, huh, okay, I get it. And you just become okay with it, rather than go on and on about everything that happened and start talking about what's right and wrong and blah, blah, blah. You just go, all right, I can see I had to go through that to get to this. And this is so amazing that I'm thankful for that, because that's all my experiences as well, good and bad. And even the bad stuff, that gives me an experience so that I might be able to help other people avoid that bad stuff or process it in a good way. So become okay with the confusion you suffered as it led to who you are today. Use the formulate option to create a life path of your own choosing, maintaining zero victimology. That's that important word. Lay the block when you are ready. Welcome back, self-expression. So if you're forgiving to others and forgiving to yourself, and if you're doing some artwork or something expressive and it doesn't work out, be patient with yourself, be forgiving. So you can welcome back self-expression now. You don't have to stop doing it in frustration or self-hatred. You just go, oh, okay, so I've learned something by doing that wrong. So, cool, okay, now I'll try it again, or I'll try something else, but I'll know that I've learned that thing. I better put that thing in my journal, because I don't want to have to do that again. Right? So we're just not going to be reactive, and we're not going to beat ourselves up, all right? So welcome back, self-expression. I mentioned at the end of this that we all become priests, scientists, and artists, and so we're all going to find our way to express ourselves, whether it's just socially, through doing some kind of activity, sports, art. We're just going to celebrate the human body, the human existence, the experience of being human. And revealing love, revealing beauty is generally the artist's goal. Okay, so then, perhaps on Sunday morning, so when you sleep, this stuff gets, while we're dreaming, I believe dream is simply just a program that your brain automatically just allows some random stuff to happen so that it can kind of reconfigure itself and kind of defragment itself and put everything that you've learned that day into the right places. And so I believe this stuff works while you sleep as well. Anyway, acceptance. Sunday morning, let's say. Accept the challenges of your looks and situation. We're all born with refusing to be jealous, it says. So we're all born in some kind of, well, we have a body for a start. It could be short, could be tall. And we're born into a situation which may be advantageous or not so advantageous. The point is, the Asians have a saying where ultimately it's like we're given a path as a challenge. So if you consider it that way, you can just say, well, look, this time around the universe has given me the challenge of getting out from here, but in this vehicle and in this situation. And so you simply you just have to accept that this is your challenge, and you want to be able to hold yourself with dignity, self-compassion, patience. You're going to bring forward all the power of love to run your role in life, whatever that turns out to be, with dignity and beauty and love. So don't spend a whole lot of time just being jealous and just wasting your time like that. It's not good for you. Deep traumas are filed away here as experience-only events. Now, with the forgiveness block, you may find that there are some things that have happened to you where you simply cannot forgive a person for having done what happened. And the path around that, it seems to me, is, yes, that thing happened. But if it wasn't you sitting there, perhaps it would have been another person sitting there and it would have happened to them. Or if it was a different person, it would have happened to them. So you see, in that sense, you can say, well, then I'm not a victim. I just happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, which just happens on the sine curve of ups and downs. Things that are possible to happen in human life. I hit a really low point and something really terrible happened to me. But you can then say, well, I'm not going to forgive what happened, but I'm going to accept that it happened to me. I had that experience, but I refuse to take any victimology out of it. Any guilt, any aspect of my emotional tie to those things that happened. I'm going to make my new way of looking at that to be a non-reactive one. I'm going to do this zero victimology thing no matter what. So you'll find your way, But ultimately there is a path whereby you can put the unforgivable things into acceptance and go on with a strong heart. Because remember, now you can help people who have had similar experiences, or you can help keep people from having that kind of experience. Alright? Know that others have their own confusing paths to solve. You can't help everybody. If you're near somebody who's reacting and causing a disruption to everybody's energy, there's not much you can do to stop that, can you? You kind of just have to accept that they're on their own journey, their own path, and they're just not yet at the point of self-awareness. And you can know that their reaction is because of some trauma and pain that they've suffered in the past. So at the very least, we can be patient with people like that. And if we get the opportunity to get their ear, we can possibly help calm them and allow them to see the light. But with these 4 images, it won't be long before it gets into the schools and everybody is just aware of this stuff. So depression will simply just evaporate from the world. In 20 years' time, people won't know what it's like to have depression. It just won't really exist anymore, because we've found a way to be which is 100% healthy. Enjoy living in the moment in this world of love and being right about everything. So that thing of being in the moment is wonderful. That's, of course, the goal. We've all heard that a lot. You want to be in this moment because there's no other moment, right? So just love it. What am I doing here? It's beautiful. Look, I've got a whole empty field ahead of me. Sunlight, I've got a lovely hill, lovely tree. Oh, it's temperate. It's a beautiful day. It's supposed to be winter, actually. So you can, when you look for anything that's wonderful, you can find it wherever you are. So, and be right about everything. Well, that just happens. Now I can explain in a way why that happens, or how that happens. You might remember from the other diagrams, I hope you've seen the other videos, that this one, this one. I'll put that diagram on the screen. All that purple bit is the confusing stuff. So in here are all the gurus, priests and therapists, psychologists, psychoanalysts, everybody who is a specialist in the field. And if you ask them, how do we return a person's self-esteem and confidence, because that's what seems to be the golden thing, right? And it is. But how do we get a person back to that state? So the 100 of the wisest people of the world in this field will give you 100 different answers, and none of them will work, because if it was that easy, we would all be doing it already. But if you know love, then there's that next diagram. When you know love, then this one. You just consult your heart and you know the right answer. You're just streets ahead of all of the other world's experts, because there's only one answer in the end that's right on point. It's the answer that goes right down the channel of love. That's always the right thing, because it's the only thing that's always best for a human being. Everything that's good for a human being. So that's why you end up being right about everything. You just immediately know the right answer. You interpret every situation correctly. Where's the love? Is there absence of love going on here? What's going on? Lay the block when you are ready. Welcome back, calm and confidence. So with acceptance, it's going to give you calm and confidence, because you're no longer anxious and worried and chasing and confused. You've accepted that this is it. Now I've got a project. I've got a really good project, the best project in the world. Maybe that's why we feel like that self-knowing moment know thyself moment is so stunningly exciting. We've got the best project in the world now. We're going to have the most amazing time. Every single day, not just all in the future. So you can welcome back your calm and your confidence. Good. The last block might be on a Sunday afternoon. It's called gratitude. Know why you are very lucky, so just think about that. Be grateful for the company of others. Enjoy your positivity and your desire to generally be helpful. Look after your body, posture, presentation and habits, both work-wise and socially. Learn what works and just do that. So this is like the bell curve. Whatever works is the truth. Okay? Now whatever works will be different as time goes on, because right now we live in the world where certain things are what works. But in 20 years' time, when depression is kind of gone, it's going to be a little bit different probably. So gradually we'll just find out where that thing that works is, and we'll just do that. That's going to inform our spirit guide or CEO of where to tilt our original spirit or inner child, so that we can be in flow in a safe way without causing damage to ourselves or other people. It all just makes total sense. This is why I know that this is the shortest path to enlightenment. It just makes sense according to all human knowledge, according to our common memory, which is language and communication. Okay, what did we get to? Yeah, so you end up having this project of, one of the aspects of the project is simply to get yourself to the point where you think, hey, yeah, I'm all right. No, so you can see how it works. On reality TV, whether it's Love Island or any of the other ones, if a person doesn't feel like they can be loved, if they don't feel good about themselves, they have to doubt why anybody is in love with them or wants to be with them. So it's really important to know that you're good. This is going to give you that sense of confidence, right? If somebody actually gets attracted to you, you don't have to be suspicious. Of course they're attracted to you. You're amazing. So, not that you will say that, but that's kind of how it goes. You have to love yourself. You have to know why you're a good person. You have to know you're being a good person and that you've got some really good fun stuff going on. That way you can accept people's admiration and love, okay? It's very mechanical in a sense like that. Very reliable is what I mean to say when I say the word mechanical. It's just reliable. It's how everything works. Everything that's good for a human being. Okay. Both work-wise and socially, learn what works and just do that. Lay the block when you are ready. Welcome back, inner joy. When you know you're good, you're good. All right. And then when you meet other people who know they're good, what fun. We're on the last page. So that is step 1 done. Okay? When you've done that, within either on the day or within a week, you'll be able to think, okay, I think I'm there. Zero victimology. I'm actually okay with the past. If I find myself ever reacting, I'm not going to put up with it. I'm going to accept responsibility. I'm just going to do that because that's who I am now. I'm not less than this. This is who I am. This is unbelievable and real. This is just, now I find the expression and I feel that all this truth that's in here, in my heart, can now be heard and expressed in a safe way because my spirit guide, well, now we're going to do this part, right? Communication recovery. So this is where we educate our spirit guide, our CEO, and it's going to find out what the truth is so then we can use it. Okay? It's mechanically sound. Okay. Communication recovery. And who doesn't like this title? It's the alternative title, charisma. Who doesn't want that? We've seen it. Do you want a taste of it? Well, to some extent, that's the joy of life. That's the dance in life, where you just buoy yourself up to the point where you anticipate everything's going to go fantastically, and quite often it will, and if it doesn't, oh, what the hell did I do wrong there? You know, it's like, but you don't blame others, and you certainly don't blame yourself. None of those things. It's just the fun. It's the dance of life. All right, so first we have to inform our spirit guide, our CEO, and we do that by doing communication recovery. Again, this is so clear and obvious that this has to be a way to be which is optimum. It only just clicked into this a few weeks ago. So this is perfect. This is just the right time to say all this stuff now. Step 1, 2, 3. So I'll start reading. As children, we learned a way to be by default. We've talked about that. But we will see here that for most of us, our default is kind of rubbish. For me, talking too much, filling in the gaps, trying to be funny all the time. I call it being theatrical and ebullient. But I do say too much. And I don't listen enough. Everybody's got that kind of, right? Except for those charismatic people, possibly. There's different kinds of charisma, but ultimately, this stuff is going to give you the dartboard, if you like. And when you throw your darts, you're going to become a good dart player, okay? A good dancer is another way of it. Anyway, so our default is kind of rubbish compared to what it can easily and quickly become. So to stay strong in our self-communication and progress, we use a journal or diary, see right-hand side. So I'm going to go through this soon. That's an example of what my diary or journal looks like. And I'll just, every one of those lines is there for a reason. It's going to mean why I'm still talking in half an hour's time. But we have to do that, because otherwise, if we hear good ideas, because we start getting interested in this, we start listening to some of those podcasts which are about well-being, about optimizing ourselves. And when we hear things that really click with us, that's a sign. We should write that stuff down. And in the morning, you can go through and put those things in the right places in your journal, so that, because they are important probably, that's why they clicked with you. To stay strong in our self-communication and progress, we use a journal. Well, we've done that. See right here. Okay. Today, we can adopt the skills of the world's best communicators. Consider these people to be your personal guides. Absorb what they say, what they teach, as universal truth. Just do what works. And they're the ones who can tell us what works, because that's why they're some of the world's good communicators. Keep notes in your journal. To be sensible, the links to these few videos are on my website, ericbrax.com. I saw one today which I'm going to add in. It's another Jefferson Fisher one. And it really is a good foundational one about communication, so I think I'm going to have to add that in. So then there'll be 8 videos on my page. And the recommendation is that you watch each of those videos twice, to the point where you go, okay, I know it. I know this stuff. I'm bored already. But now your spirit guide or CEO has the information. So when you assess your own behavior in any situation, you can, and generally, you can tilt your way of being to be in a better place, a more effective place, a place that where you do the stuff that works. Playing the game, enjoying your life, enjoying the fabulous challenge of it all. With your updated understandings, which are just truths, you will be able to walk into any room with quiet swagger and omnipotence. Is that confidence coming through now? You know why. You know you're so good, so strong. You have no fear, and yet you're not threatening either. You can walk into a room and it can be full of presidents and billionaires. It doesn't really matter, because all of them, you'll find after talking to them, are just regular people possibly not even as well figured out as you are. It's all cool. You're going to be doing a lot of listening anyway, and when you do talk, it's going to be either hilarious or really a good question, because you understand how the world works, and so you're going to be able to ask intelligent questions. And if they're not fully aware themselves, they're going to think you're really onto something. You know, they're going to want to talk to you more because you keep coming up with ideas that seem to really be quite clever. It's that thing of knowing everything, you see. Okay. The videos feature Jefferson Fisher, Vin Zhang, Robert Glover, Simon Sinek. You'll see them all there. Then work on your most obvious weak points. That makes sense, right? So if you don't have banter, and we see this in Love Island or Married at First Sight, if you don't have banter, just start watching some comedian podcasts and get a feel for what banter is and how it feels, and that way you get to join in a little bit. You don't have to be the leader of banter. Or history, science videos. It's so exciting and interesting. Human history, civilization, is just interesting. So you want to work out a timeline. The one that I use, really, I'm very happy to have made the connection, is that like Aristotle was in ancient Rome. He was one of those guys with Socrates and who formed the beginnings of civilization, beginning science and things like that. But he's the same guy who, after the fall of Athens, went up to Macedonia and became a teacher to Alexander the Great. And then Alexander the Great went off and did his thing, which is a big act of bullying really, but he went around and did his thing, ended up around Egypt at one point and left one of his top generals there, named Ptolemy. You think that's an Egyptian name, but it's actually Macedonian. And for many generations then, Ptolemy was the Ptolemy family was the leader of Egypt. And the last of the Ptolemies was Cleopatra. And she, of course, had her interactions with Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. So there's the Roman era. And then the Romans keep going till about, well, then Christianity comes in, about the year 300, as a Roman Catholic type thing. It becomes the main religion of what still exists. And then the Romans fall away at around the year 500, and that's when a lot of royal stuff starts happening. A lot of provinces that are ruled by certain families. That kind of system came in. So it's a nice way it's important to kind of have some sense of a timeline. I think that can't be the only golden thread. There must be a number of golden threads that will help us all be able to place things in the right time frame and be able to manage history in our minds really in a fun way. Okay, that was a long one. So history, science videos. Oh, okay, so there's a guy I want you to meet. His name is Jim Al-Khalili, and he's made a number of science videos, and they're just amazing. He goes to all these places where the things happened, and he says it, he's qualified, everything is done perfectly. So you've got to go and watch all of the Jim Al-Khalili videos, and probably watch them 2 or 3 times, because it's just so fun. It's so much information that is really interesting. Again, it's part of civilization. It's how we have science and how we grew from knowing nothing. These are all our people, not just these people. All people are our people, the ones that have really achieved things. You know, that's like, wow, good on you guys, yeah. All right, and it's still happening today, right? Facebook, Google, all of these people are building the technologies that will hopefully give humans what they want in the future. You know? It's really profound, and what a blessing for those people to be able to work on the forefront of what will be the future. Okay, they work on your most obvious weak points. Blah, blah, blah. Know and appreciate where you came from and where you are now. This is what Love Equals Energy is. It gives us that framework. It's really simple and obvious. We are love. Our civilization has grown from that. We're just making this change now into this end of war period. Go and see my other videos if you don't know what that is. It's just all changing right now because of Love equals energy. It's amazing. Okay. Communication recovery and trying to stay present is the joy of our dance with life. That's what I've referred to before. And that comes from Alan Watts. I don't think I've said that today, so I'll say it now. Alan said in the 60s, you know how, and it was particularly true back then, life seems to be for many people, for most people, that it's just a series of getting prepared for the next stage. So you go to preschool to be prepared for primary school, to be prepared for secondary school, to be prepared to get a job or university, to be prepared to get a manager's job perhaps, and it's like people get to their midlife crisis and think, when is it okay to just have life and experience everything? I'm always in a state of apparent unpreparedness. And so Alan's metaphor was simply, look, life is like a dance. You're supposed to dance while the music is playing. So don't bank on everything into the future. Just trust yourself, trust your heart, have your direction, have it written in your journal, know yourself. When you have it written here, for instance, it's that thing that can help you to not get upset about anything. Because in your really lucid moments, when you're really planning and using your spirit guide and your spirit, your original spirit together, and you're making this plan, this is your map of your future. And this is then all the truth. You're well in that second while you're doing this. And not just that second, all the other seconds around when you think of it, you know everything is fantastic, actually. So it's not true when somebody upsets you or something just happens to upset you. Don't regard it, just accept it. It's a fact. Be a good Buddhist in that sense. It just is. How it affects me is up to me. This morning, I came here twice this morning to do this recording. And the first time there's a guy with a tractor going back and forth here. He can see I'm recording, but he parks over there, does something, and then drives back here, and I'm thinking, can you not see that I'm recording? So, you know, it's that thing of, you feel the reaction, you feel frustration, but you manage yourself so that you can, if you can't manage to see the funny side of it while it's going on, at least just accept, well, that guy, he has to do his job. I'm not even a sports person, so I'm using their premises, this public bit of area here, as my video venue. So, you know, I can't complain, that would be ridiculous. So instead, actually, what I did is I went to the local Mega and had a cup of coffee and a piece of cake and did a crossword. So that was fun in the end. And then I came back on the way, and I think he was still here, or there was still something going on, and I thought, So I went home and had lunch. Now I'm back though, and doing the video. So, yeah, it's that thing of awareness, just knowing you're not, if you get upset about anything, it's not that you won't get upset about some things. Things will rattle your energy level, your flow, but just when you're aware, you can get away with refusing to be upset about everything. It doesn't compile. So your stress levels are generally always at around about 0. Yeah? And it never gets higher because you're never fanning the flame by indulging in it. Okay. I say all that so that you get a sense of how it works. All right? Okay. Communication without dance with life. Yeah, so dance while the music is playing. That's like being in the moment. Just be happy. There's no point in being anything else, honestly. But it's not that you can't avoid that ruffling sometimes. It's going to happen. Part of the dance of life. Okay, so that's step 2. So now you're carrying 0 victimology. You know you've prepared yourself. You've spent a bit of time and a little effort in making your presentation good. You're standing up against a wall every now and again and stretching, teaching yourself to stand up straight again. Grow some facial hair. Whatever you want to do to present in a good way, all right? Because I'm getting old and grey, and because I have no tattoos, in the modern world, I want to present as a little more masculine. So I figured, I'm going to grow a beard, I'm going to colour that thing. Just let people know that I'm still alive. Because I still feel like a 20-year-old is the thing. And that's part of it, right? Until it's time to stop, it's just full-on joy. All right. So then we get to step 3. We have to maintain this level of awareness, which is, of course, a joy. But there's a little discipline involved because we still have things to fix and to generally just stay healthy. Because we're not working out in our regular jobs quite often, it's going to be good to do some weights, do some yoga in the morning to stretch out your body and keep all your physiology in good condition. So it says here, happiness is growth. This is now step 3, maintenance, which is just joyfully living. We form a blissful view of our past, present and future. So if your mind wanders into the past, it's unlikely to get all upset about anything because we've already processed all that stuff. And if something appears scary, we're just going to put it back in its room and gently close the door. We just refuse. There's no need. We're just no longer attached to that, you see. So your past is safe, and in fact it's a source of bliss for you actually. Because all your joy is in the past as well, even your fantasies, your sexual fantasies even. Whatever they are as a result of your past, they just are. They're there for you to use and be a part of. As long as you're doing no harm, it's a source of deep pleasure for you. So it's just a place in your psyche that you can use and visit each day because it is pleasurable. So in the present we're happy too because we're just living this wonderful adventure. And in the future, well, we've made a plan, our best plan for generally in the direction we want to go. And although we don't want to feel like we have to control it to the nth degree, we know we're heading in a certain direction and we're just going to start walking that way. And as long as there's some love about it, if there's some sense of service to it, or if it's just the right direction, you'll see the path just appears in front of you. People will help you on your path. The whole universe is wanting you to succeed because love is what exists in the next frame of time. Anything that's associated with love can thrive. Have healthy past, present and future, which inspires a healthy morning routine. We relearn to stand up straight and dress well. I've covered all that. But the morning routine, of course, is... So when we wake up in the morning, because we've just had some random dream, there might be some chemicals coursing through your bloodstream which are associated with stress or confusion of being lost or something, bewildering. So when you wake up in the morning, you've got this stuff going through. You're not yourself yet. The first thing you do, though, is you should make your bed, because that's a nice little act of discipline and deep respect and dignity for your own life, because you're going to lay your head on there tonight as well. It's a blessing. It's a blessed place for you and your body, your consciousness, okay? So it's a beautiful thing to do, to make your bed nice and tidy. Don't be a perfectionist about it. Just do it in a nice, simple, easy way. That way you've already had your first success. And then you might do some yoga to stretch your body out and get all ready so that, otherwise if you don't limber up ever, your body tends to kind of stick together. If you don't use it, you lose it. So you want to keep your athleticism intact. Possibly do some weights if you need to, if you don't otherwise get any exercise. If you do that, you might find then that you can't get dressed straight away because you're about to start sweating, and that's no good if you've just gotten changed. So it's a nice thing to do. It's a challenge though. But if you've got a small pool, just go and sit in that for 5 minutes, cold, right? And you think, oh, that's hard to do, but we'll get to that in a second. Or you get in the cold shower and just have cold water pouring all over you, front and back, so that you end up cooling your chest, have yourself a little wash. Now you're all refreshed and you feel strong, because not many people can put up with cold shower like I can, you know. Now really, of course, it's nothing, right? People get into kind of icy tubs and stuff like that. Although I think It would take yeah, never mind that. Just cold is fine. Now, how do you do that? Well, so the reason you do it though is so that then you can go and get dressed and you're not going to get all sweaty, so it just means you can go and have your breakfast and you've made a really good start to the day. The first time I did that, I was like possibly you, and just no way I'm going to go and sit in a cold pool. I mean, I'm with the temperature, if it's less than 68, I'm not getting in there. That sort of thing, right? That's just from my past. But nowadays I don't look. In the mornings, at that point, I thought it wasn't even to do with cooling down after working out. The way my mind got to it was, what if I got into that pool? It was just entertainment. It was just me trying to think of a magic trick, in a sense, doing some theatrics. So I thought to myself, wouldn't it be cool to just get in that pool and act my way through? I'm just going to get in that pool as if it's warm. And I'm just going to get in there and I'm going to go, oh, this is really warm actually. And I'm just going to pretend it's a spa pool. And I'm going to just sit right down and go, oh, this is amazing. And really calm. I really want to act it through, right? And just stay in control of my nervous system, who desperately wants to get out of the pool or is used to reacting, right? But I don't let it. I'm just going to go through with this act, and I feel like that's going to be like a cool magic trick. And I say to somebody sitting there, I'm going to do that. Won't that be awesome? And then if we have visitors, I'm going to do it and see if they get in too. Dumb stuff, right? Like just entertaining myself. Anyway, then I went ahead and did it. And I was real proud. I thought, oh, I actually got in this cold pool. And I thought, wow, that's something. And then I did it again, and then I thought, after my workout each morning, I should just come and sit in this pool. So then it just became normal. It just became normal. And I was able to sit there feeling really proud of myself. Hey, I'm out of my comfort zone. I'm just sitting in this pool. The other people are inside. They can't even imagine sitting in the cold pool. So you start you're building yourself back up in your sense of what you can do, and you're enjoying this liberation. And then when the pool is no longer there because it's no longer summer, then I just go into the cold shower, and again, it's one of those things where you have to breathe a little bit, but you're really proud of yourself afterwards. You dry off, brush your teeth again, and do all that stuff. And then you feel like you're onto it, you know? You can't have done a better morning routine. So that's ultimately what you want to do for yourself. Just have some kind of morning routine or build up to a morning routine. But most importantly is you're going to consult your journal, because on the journal is going to be that thing that makes sure you get into the right mindset, that your path of growth is what you're focusing on as the number one thing. Okay, where did we get up to? The morning routine. We relearn to stand up straight and dress well. Our purpose is one of service to others, generating inner enthusiasm and energy. So whatever you're going to do, if you can find a way that it's important for you to do, because not just for yourself, but because it's going to help the world in some way, that's your motivation for going to work. Now, it might not be a really obvious thing like directly helping people. It could be working on machinery that helps society. In which case you can focus then on the people you work with. We're doing this thing together, which is all good for the world. We don't want to need to focus on that every second of the day. So instead we're just now focusing then on the people and how we can organize ourselves, do the job even more efficiently possibly. You're going to just, and also because you've done this stuff, you're going to get promoted, all that sort of thing happens then too. But your way of enjoying your life will become something that you're aware of, so that when things do become stressed or you do need help because things are becoming too stressful at work, you know that it's okay to start mentioning it to your managers. Hang on, something's going wrong out here because I can see soon we're not going to be able to cope with the current situation, and I've got a suggestion, or if there are other things that you can tell me that's going to help relieve this, that would be really useful to know. you end up just becoming a good leader, right? Okay. Yeah, so purpose, a sense of service is good, because that's the motivation, right? Anything, again, that's in the manner of love is going to be supported in the universe. We invent compelling distractions to stop anxiety, the gift technique. That's a good one. There was a time my car broke down in the middle of Pukekohe here, and I had to get it towed away. I couldn't drive anymore. It basically locked me out of it. And it had to have a special thing put in to allow me to use the car again, because it was the security system which had gone wrong. And so it was going to take a few weeks, well, a week to find out what's wrong, and then another few weeks to get it fixed. And of course, I didn't want to have to think, about now I'm carless, what's going to happen, how much is it going to cost, blah, blah, blah. I didn't want to have to think about all that stuff, because my CEO, my spirit guide, told me, Eric, it doesn't matter how much you worry about this thing, it doesn't change a thing. So you may as well just say, okay, I know the situation, so now I'm not going to worry about it till I get more information. So whenever the idea of that car appears in my mind, I programmed myself in a kind of NLP way. As soon as that car thought appears in my mind, I told myself, I'm going to run the gift technique. And that is simply deciding what in your mind is a 2-second movie that you can run in as much high def as you can, as an experience, so you can run this thing as an experience. Something imaginative. Now, normally, to get your attention really well, and that's the point of it, is to do something sexy, whatever, or exciting, whatever it is that turns you on the most and gets your attention and makes you feel happy, makes you smile a little. Run that gift, decide what it is, and then let it run whenever that car idea comes into my mind. And then I smile as a result of it. And then the car idea may come in again. So then I make sure that the GIF is slightly different, but I don't have to direct this movie. It just comes out slightly different because I've told my mind to make it slightly different. So within a split second, there's another thing, and now I'm smiling again. After a while, your brain just gets on to other things. So you see, by doing the gift technique, I was able to avoid feeling stressed and letting it compile for the whole period of the damn thing. When I got the car back eventually, I realized, hey, this gift technique thing works, doesn't it? So ultimately, I found that to be really, really useful. That's why it's here. Okay. We aim for anti-fundamentalism, anti-perfectionism, and simplicity. This makes sense in terms of if you're really stuck in your ideas, there's no experimentation going on. You're cut and dry on everything, which means you've stopped growing, really, possibly. I feel like it's a better idea to just relax a little more. It's sort of like that thing. It's sort of like that thing of just settling, being here. No need to try and extreme everything, right? Because now it's taking effort and you feel like, if I'm not happy here, how happy can I get? It's like, I'll stop it. So, yeah, explore the edges a little bit. Just find out, just to affirm that your ideas are about right, whatever suits you, right? You may discover a whole nother field of things that are really interesting. It could be to do with banter and comedy if that's something that you've missed out on in the past because for some reason, whatever it was. So ultimately, keep the edges nice and loose and relaxed. As long as there's nobody's being hurt, do no harm is the only rule, really, of everything. Don't be too much of a perfectionist either, because that can really lead to procrastination and hold people back. So perfectionism in a lot of cases is from the fear program. So you can assess whatever it is you're doing and decide, is it appropriate to get this exactly right as much as I can, or is this one of those things which I can just walk past and move on with? Simplicity, obviously, if you have too many things going on, your level of stress to maintain or manage these things is going to be higher than you might want it to be. We try to contribute positively to the daily life around us, so in every little moment we're trying to at least bring positivity, add to whatever is going on, help out. We're going to be that person who's just always generally reliable and turns up and always adds to whatever occasion it is. We watch out for unavoidable compounding stress levels to keep out of trouble, and I've mentioned that already. Just be aware, because when you do lose it sometime and you think back, you'll probably realize, oh yeah, it was those three things all in a row that led me to this point of weakness. So it still makes sense in the end, and you can do your apology and explain yourself, and then everything's good. That's that thing, when you apologize to somebody for having reacted, especially as the world gets to know this, you will probably get a handshake or a hug from people when you do that apology, because it really is what this is all about. If somebody's taking responsibility for their reactive selves, that's an amazing thing. I know then that they're on the path, and so they're my kind of people. I can relate to this person because this is the fun thing. I can have these talks with that person, and have a jolly laugh about all these things that we do that are strange, and talk about the stories of the past and how we've overcome them. It's all just inspirational and wonderful and beautiful. It's everything about love. So apologizing is probably going to be it's going to be so fun. You might want to find things to apologize about just to have the fun part. No, that's just being silly. Okay. So we've got down here the images of the making the bed. We're doing yoga. We do some weights possibly. So when we've done all this and we're maintaining it, we're still going to talk about the journal. We then slow ourselves down because we're all way up in our heads and we're just working too fast and worrying and stressing about everything. This gives us permission to not do that like everybody else. We're going to slow ourselves down, remembering to experience every perfect moment. There's a person jogging. What's that one doing? Oh, having a cold shower, sitting in a cold bath or something possibly, and standing up straight, relearning, teaching your body. Arnold Schwarzenegger told me that. You stand up straight up against the wall or the corner of the wall and bring your shoulders back. You hold it there for a minute or two, and when you step away, you really do feel an inch taller, and you can't even bend over. And then I've got a little picture here saying restart daydream mode. And the reason that's there is because I've been on a path where I've tried to calm myself down. Now, I've always said that I'm just ebullient. But honestly, I am ebullient. I really do have a lot of good energy. But I also suffer from this thing of being overly theatrical, trying to be funny. It doesn't really work. I just don't really have that. I don't have it as much as I'd like to think I do. So it's not useful for me to be too theatrical. It just doesn't work for me, right? So, now sometimes it does. But when I know that I'm doing it, when I know that it's really funny, then I should do it. All the other times I should not do those ones, So, okay. Now, so I've admired people who are very calm, and I think, that's the goal, right? Like a priest, like a wise person. People who have charisma, if they're not the fun, noisy type, they're the quiet, serene type. And what is it? They're just non-judgmental. They're very accepting. They're basically full of love. You can feel safe and open around them. Okay, so that's the quiet charisma. And you'll find those people are listeners and accepting everything you tell them. They're happy for you. It's like, what a relief. at last I've met somebody who just accepts me and seems to like me, and I'm just being myself. That's what we're going to talk about later. Opposite charisma, or whatever it is. Reverse charisma. Because you think charisma is just, being entertaining. But no, half of charisma at least is the reverse charisma, being a good listener and allowing people around you to feel safe and open. You're absolutely non-threatening and you're supportive, okay? And so yeah, I was trying to slow myself down, or thinking that's the goal. And so I tried a number of things in my journal. For instance, on my identity thing, for a little while I was trying to stay in priest mode to see if I could train myself to just go slower. It didn't work. And then when I get ebullient and excited and fun and active, then I think, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. But, so what I ended up doing is thinking, yeah, Eric, you just have got a lot of energy, and that's good, and I like that. It's my flow, and to come up with these ideas, I like to have all these conversations going off in my head, because sometimes something says something that's really right, and I start to write it down, and then it just fits somewhere, right? So there's nothing wrong with that. So I thought, okay, so then for me, I feel like then I don't have to slow down, only with people. That's when I have to slow down, okay? That seems more sensible. If I'm more aware when I'm with people, then I can make sure I don't overtalk, become too ebullient, give people their time to express, listen to them, just hold it all back. That's the time where I want to get into priest mode, right? When I just want to relax, almost only half listen to everybody, just to make sure that I don't get too into what they're saying. But I'm training myself, you see, but that's the point. So what are we doing here? We're restart daydream mode. So that's where that comes from. And I thought, well, so here's an example. One thing that happened while I was experimenting with this calm idea. One afternoon I'm starting to mow lawns, and I feel like, oh, this is good. I'll put my phone in my pocket, so if I think of anything fabulous, I'll just record it quickly and keep mowing the lawn. So I was about to enjoy mowing the lawn, and then I thought, well, normally when I mow the lawns, I'm all about the efficiency of it, right? If I go this part and that part, and I intellectualize the whole darn thing to make sure that I finish in the least amount of time so I don't have to do more work than is necessary, right? It's like that kind of thinking, or the foundation of it is that kind of thinking. And I thought this time, I'm not going to try and do it fast or efficiently. And there was a flower there, or a piece of litter, and I'll just go and pick that up, and I'll look at that flower, I'll just, what's going on here? I'm really just going to relax and get the job done at the same time as just not worrying about what part I'm doing next. And I thought, oh, that's the answer, this is lovely. Now then, so that stuck with me, right? Now the reason that this is here though, restart daydream mode, it led me to think of this kind of thing. When I was a kid in school and probably had my elbow on the desk and I'm looking out the window, me or many others, and then you can imagine in your mind the teacher then gets the ruler and whacks it on the desk. I don't know if this is what school is like nowadays, but you get shocked into, oh, pay attention, focus, we got to focus, okay, all right, now we're focusing, and then we get told we're going to be tested on this later today or in a month's time, and oh my goodness, so we're kind of, nobody's intended to give us anxiety, but we end up having to start, we're being trained to just be more aware, focus, you're not good enough yet, so you have to learn this, oh, okay. So that's the experience of education, the way it was done, generally, without awareness that it was engendering anxiety in people. And then in a meditation, in a moment of deep thought, possibly while mowing the lawns, I kind of, in my mind, just re-embodied that 6-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old kid. And I could imagine myself having that experience, but then deciding, hey Eric, turns out you were okay in daydream mode. There was nothing wrong at all. So you can actually, it's that person still exists in you, yet that's your original spirit. And so by connecting to that point in your life, you can kind of realize, hey, that guy's still here. I can just relax and daydream. This is why we restart daydream mode. We're really getting to the end. This is the last one, and now I've just got to go through the journal. So this is something. Well, I'm going to have to read it now. So the journal, at least the way I do it, is I just have a notepad file on my computer, on the desktop, and at the very top I have a thing called Quick Notes, and that has yellow highlighting, and whenever I have new ideas or make notes about a podcast that I've been watching, I chuck it all in there so that the next morning I can put all that stuff in the right places, whether it's to do with art, whether it's to do with well-being, or whatever. But the next one is the main one. This is identity. And now the first thing on identity, I've had different things there at different times, depending on what I was working on. For instance, what's going on with the lighting here? It looks like there's a shadow going right across here. Anyway. Now, so there was a time where I was working on my rapport, charisma, particularly, and I recall thinking, there was a guy called Dean Martin, who was a singer in the 60s and 70s, and he had the ultimate masculine charisma. Everybody loved him, right? And so I had Dino written as the first line on identity to remind myself. The fun part about that was, you see, Dean Martin was his on-stage shtick, but his real-life shtick was also just very calm, and he really had that charisma. It was true, right? But his on-stage persona also carried him like a martini glass or something. So he was always in kind of club mode, which is appropriate because he's about to sing probably. But when he's in that mode, it's fun and it's easy to be in with that energy because it's very relaxed. So he's pretending a bit to be a little drunk. And that was a clue. That really blew my mind a bit when I realized, oh, so his charisma isn't one where he's trying to be intelligent, impress people with intelligence. In fact, he's doing the opposite. He's not even being on point because he's got that real swaggery kind of slightly drunk kind of thing, the tipsy kind of thing. So it let me know that to have fantastic charisma, don't be at your best. That was kind of a nice revelation. It's like, relax. The answer is always relax, okay? The Buddha was right. And so for a while, Dino was written on the top there as a thing to remind myself, just get into Dino mode, right? And then just relax. Walks twice as slow. I still do that regularly, not Dino thing, but just walking twice as fast. Just slow down, half speed. And then you realize, oh yeah, I have been as if I'm rushing to this place. There's no rush, you know. So it all feels right. Anyway, now the general best top line is, what else do I love about this? So that in any moment of awareness, you can just appreciate just the way the light is landing on that hill, the rabbits that every now and again appear on the lawn over there. It's like the sunlight and the kids playing over in the thing over there, on the swings. So what else do I love about this? Keeps you in tune with the beautiful things in life. And if you're not doing that, you're really missing out on things, because this is the moment. This is where I am. And it's all here to serve people. Have you noticed all of civilization has made it to serve us? We think of it, because we're in a capitalist world, we think of it, oh, it's people just making money and blah, blah, blah. But really, everything is made to serve us. I can go down to the local shop and get these printed for not much money, which allows me to communicate this to you. So everything is here to help us thrive. So it's that attitude, point of view thing. What else do I love about this? What am I seeing? Why is the world working the way it is? It's because of love. We're lifting the human spirit and searching for that thing which turns out to be love equals energy, the meaning of life. Okay, second one down is slow down, especially with people. So that's that thing that I talked about already. Just with people. I don't have to slow down in my own fun, right? Listen, focus on their experience, not my answer. So that's one that I got from Communication Recovery. Always spend more time listening, Eric. Not thinking about how I'm going to answer. I think that's a really common pattern that people need to keep aware of. Unless they have that innate charisma that where people just can't get enough of somebody's talking. Some people are like that too. Listen, focus on their experience, not my answer. I just did that one. Fill out my weaknesses, sports, history, humour. I could do a bit of sports. I don't know anything much about sports, but of course it's going to be fun and exciting to some extent. Of course it is. How happy am I to wake up each morning? That was a good one, because there was a time where I realized, hey, I've been slacking, because suddenly I got all happy again. And I realized, hey, how come I haven't been feeling this way for quite a while? And then I realized I better put this in my notes. How happy am I to wake up each morning? Because if I'm starting to be skeptical about how happy I am when I start each day, it's because I've failed in my maintenance, right? So then I can add that note particularly to make sure that when I read this each morning, to check in with myself and just know, okay, am I feeling less powerful today for any reason? And then the last thing on identity, I've put, just do the next right thing. And that's generally what I do every single moment. Whatever's the next right thing to do, that's what I'm going to do. Then I have a to-do list, which is kind of just things that are coming up. Eliminate, reduce old damaging behaviors. So you'll put on things like that. Whatever you need to do, you'll have notes to do with that for yourself. But because you're well, whether it's an eating thing or some other habit, not eating enough possibly, whatever it is that you do that you know is not a good pattern, from this position of health, of mental health, you're going to have the best chance you've ever had at succeeding of curbing those bad patterns. So it's fun. It's worth doing all of that just to make sure that you can now have some real success with reducing any bad patterns and behaviors. Then I've got Toastmasters meeting. It's just part of growth. You might want to do that. Then I've got masculinity. Now that's another program that's running. I think the masculine program actually runs before the fear program, because I think females and males react differently according to whatever happens in the fear program. So it probably runs first. So it's an important program. And again, we just have to know what works. And there's enough information in the world today for us to know what works. I can see now the sun is really like this, but I hope the video is okay. I'm not doing this all over again, right? I should move the camera, but I guess, look, over here. Yeah, that's easy. With masculinity. So on the internet, there's a heck of a lot of stuff to do with pickup. There's a lot to do with the whole psychology of masculinity and femininity and our relationships together. There is one person who really seems to be the kingpin of getting it right, and his name is Robert Glover. So in order to do our communication recovery, Robert Glover's name is there. He is the owner of the kind of don't be so much of a nice guy all the time, which seems confusing, but ultimately you'll see the message. We're all trained to be overly nice, to fawn on females particularly, but to be overly nice. We've been trained. It's not terrible, but what we haven't been trained in is knowing ourselves. That's what we need to know. If we know ourselves and we know that we're loved, and that other thing happens the right way, we can still be a man at the same time as being kind and good and nice and responsive and all these sorts of things. But yeah, so we've been trained in a way where we lost the masculinity in the last 50 years or so. But it's not to say it was so bad, because before that we were all living in a world which was more confused. The whole process from the 60s, 50s, even through the war period, we've all been getting to know who we are gradually. It's all kind of coming to this big thing, which is now where the meaning of life comes in, love equals energy, and now we know ourselves. So this has all been part of the process. We had to go through this to get to now, all right? So we don't have any victimology about it. We just know that we've been born in this time, this is what happened, now we understand it, we know it, we can correct for it ourselves, and be wonderful, do no harm. So anyway, masculinity is here. I've written down things like calm is strong, a man's presence is felt. Stop talking shop, only answer questions. Me, don't be so verbose. Have opinions, she expects you to lead. So all my times when anybody, a girlfriend says, oh, where should we eat, what should we eat? I'm cool with it all. And so that was always my response, whatever you like, babe. And if it's the wrong answer in the end, it just doesn't work as well for the female. She wants the man who she's with, if she's just regular heterosexual, to have an opinion, to be the leader, to be the guide, in a sense, you know. It's not to say that she's second in line or anything. She just wants you to be the natural leader that she thought you were when she got with you in the first place. So don't be so nice, if you like. Just be okay to need things, to say, this is what I need. Okay, that's probably a better way to say it. Okay. No reverse charisma, Chris Williamson. So there's a video in the Communication Recovery where Chris Williamson brings that up and has made that really popular and famous again in the last year or so. There's a doctor who came up with the concept, whose name is on my website, but yeah, watch that Chris Williamson video. Robert Glover, Corey Wayne, this is all to do with masculinity. So Corey Wayne has kind of really got it all written out. So if you want it really written out, you can go and check in with Corey Wayne. Femininity. So under that I've got that she enjoys someone who is clearly in their masculine. My straight up relaxed manly conduct is fine, so no need to go worrying about it all. Just be aware of yourself and just learn and know that you're roughly okay. People are going to be attracted to different kinds of people, and it's just whatever nature has prescribed from people's pasts. There's no need to mess with all that stuff. Just relax and enjoy what happens in your life. Generally, wait for her to signal interest. Generally, yeah. But there's also nothing wrong with fishing. So, you know, you don't want to be a predator. You don't want to focus on one person necessarily and just think, this is it. Because if she doesn't agree, it's not it. But fishing is okay. Allowing people to know that you're social, available, and wanting to spend time with people, and that you're not just locked in with one partner at the moment, it's all fine. So yeah, what we call fishing is okay. You just talk and flirt a little bit, that's all good fun. Okay, and then the last part that I've got on here are the peoples on whose shoulders this work exists. It's to say that this is not just all my idea. But we've got from Christian perspectives, Buddhism, psychology, science, well-being podcasters, all the cleverest people and greatest communicators in the world. This is something they will all agree with, because it's for the first time, actually, the meaning of what it is to be a human, the short path to enlightenment. But there's only one page left in here, so I can't lift it up. But this is it. This is what we've been looking for. Every individual. This isn't wrong for any individual, I believe. So, really important. What a blessing, right? It all comes from love equals energy and our own human history. We've got to this part where now we can know who we are, we can lock it in with love equals energy and get the world that we all dream of. It's going to just happen really quickly from this point on. That's all I have to say about this. Please subscribe to the channel. If you have a podcast, feel free to invite me on it if I haven't yet appeared on podcasts around you, because that's how we're going to popularize this. Okay, thank you.